This is Steve State Roberts.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man.
Hey, this is Bob Backlund. Hey, everyone, this is Rick Steiner.
This is the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest WWE Intercontinental Champion of all time.
This is your wrestling show, Ottawa.
Heck, they could use you guys over in WWE.
You're listening to the greatest wrestling show in the whole wide world.
This is Wrestling with Ideas.
Welcome back inside the CKDJ studios here for Wrestling with Ideas on CKDJ 1079, Ottawa's new music. How's it going, guys? It's the Music Man, Colin Scully, here to challenge your thoughts and wrestle with some ideas. This is episode 111. It is currently the 28th of June, 2018. Now let's get straight into the news. All right, so first, last night, or 2 nights ago, I guess it was on Tuesday, Kevin Owens finally got his Shania Twain moment. If you're familiar, back when they were kayfabe fired before WrestleMania 34, Kevin Owens had deleted his Twitter and went back to Kevin Steen. Now, it was just recently after they had competed in the match against Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania that he had rebooted his Twitter account, and then a couple weeks later he had said that the only reason that he got re-verified was so that he could beg Shania Twain to play his favorite song, which is called When, at the concert in Montreal. Now, as I mentioned, Kevin Owens is a big fan of Shania Twain and made it his mission to ensure that she played When at the concert. Tuesday night was the big night for Kevin Owens, and it looks like he got more than his money's worth out of the concert. Shania was in the middle of her concert when she brought a super fan to the stage when she noticed the handmade sign. Twain asked what the fan's name was, and this fan replied, Kevin Owens from Montreal. They had a back and forth before Twain brought the prize fighter on stage. After Kevin Owens told the multi-platinum recording artist what his name was, she asked him if he was the annoying fan from Twitter. Of course, now Owens was not the only one that was sending Twain song requests on Twitter, but he certainly made himself known to her as the guy who wanted to hear it. Owens admitted he did send her a couple messages on social media, but it was the WWE Universe who actually ended up creating all the buzz. After all that Kevin Owens wanted to hear was for Shania Twain to perform the song. After they exchanged a few words on stage in French, as Shania Twain is also Canadian, and I don't know where she's from. Anyways, long story short, Shania did not sing the song that he wanted to hear, that Kevin Owens wanted to hear. Before Kevin Owens left the stage, he helped Shania Twain sit on top of a piano by using his knee as a step. He then bowed to her and exited the stage. All right, moving on to some interesting news coming out of Bakersfield, California, or Fresno, California, pardon me. It was reported today, meaning yesterday, meaning 2 days ago. All right, it was reported out of Fresno, California a couple days ago that Shinsuke Nakamura is currently injured and not cleared to compete. They noted that he was injured on Monday night in Bakersfield, as before Monday's live event, there was a police dog that was going around doing sort of like a pre-show security check when the dog sniffed Nakamura and bit him on the leg without being provoked. WWE decided to pull Nakamura from the ring as a medical precaution, and he was backstage for last night's SmackDown, but he wasn't cleared to compete and is said to be suffering from a very sore leg. No word yet on when he will be cleared, but we will make sure to keep you updated. All right, moving on now to an announcement that came on Monday. It was noted that WWE and the USA Network had announced the new Raw TV deal, while WWE and Fox announced the new TV deal for SmackDown. This was back on Monday, and a press release from the WWE reads as follows. WWE announced today that it has completed landmark agreements with USA Network and Fox Sports effective October 1st of 2019 for the US distribution of WWE's flagship programs Raw and Smackdown. As part of these 5-year agreements, Monday Night Raw will continue to air on USA Network, and Fox Sports will distribute SmackDown Live each Friday on Fox Broadcast Network. These agreements increase the annual average value of WWE's distribution to 3.6 times that of the prior deal with NBCU. That is a very interesting stat there. It's going to be interesting to see what SmackDown is going to bring to Fox, as there hasn't been wrestling on Fox for a while. All right. Now, last part of the news this week, Enzo Amore has finally released and told everybody what happened backstage at Raw 25. Now, Enzo Amore's WWE release was sudden, and a lot of people were actually surprised by it. Not only were the allegations against him heinous, but they had to be taken especially seriously in the midst of the Me Too movement. Now, at the time of his release, Enzo Amore was the WWE Cruiserweight Champion, and although the case against him was dropped due to insufficient evidence, it didn't help his employment status with WWE. Amore carries on as Real One and is releasing rap music under his new moniker. Real One's first single, Phoenix, was a diss track aimed at his accuser, the situation surrounding his release, and the media outlets that sensationalized the story. Since his 4-month social media silence is over, the man formerly known as Enzo Amore went into detail as he discussed what happened backstage before Raw 25 on his last night with WWE. And these are the words of Enzo here. Vince McMahon was running around backstage, headless horseman, insanity. It's crazy. And I found out about this while I was in rehearsals with the APA. So my phone keeps blowing up. People keep texting me, Real One said on the Steve Austin show. I'm like, well, people texting me, why is my phone keep ringing, going through these rehearsals? I look and I see a tweet, and that's how I found out. I didn't know anything. And he was actually released during Raw 25. Definitely quite interesting, but it doesn't really help, as I mentioned before, it doesn't really help that this all happened during the Me Too movement. So yeah, this was the news of the week. Now let's start talking about Monday Night Raw. So this week, Monday Night Raw opened with the end of the Sasha Banks versus Bayley feud. Now, after the match, the match happened between Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Ember Moon. Because, of course, Kurt Angle seems to think that putting Sasha Banks and Bayley together in a tag team is a good idea. And it'll work even though they've not been talking for a better part of like 2 or 3 months. And the team of Banks, Bayley, and Moon teamed up to face the Riot Squad again. The match was fun. And Moon was flinging herself all over the place in an attempt to keep things together. But then Banks lost via a roll-up, and Bayley lost her mind. There was no hesitation at all. Banks had just started to grab at her hair in frustration when Bayley came diving into the ring to clobber her. She rained down punches to the back of Banks' head, stomped her in the corner, smashed her face into the middle turnbuckle, threw her to the floor, and bashed her into the steps twice. Now, San Diego came on, they lost their minds too. With approval, mainly because this should have happened a while ago. Now, although this was incredible and cathartic in every way, the thing that struck a lot of people was when Angle asked Bayley to be the responsible one and try to patch things. That's a horrible thing to ask somebody. It's almost as if a teacher had asked a kid who was being bullied to be the one to find common ground with their attacker. All right, moving on to the Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler Intercontinental Championship rematch. Now, this match started off really well. They got about half an hour. They spent the early portion of the match hitting on every single one of Rollins' injuries, those being the knee, the neck, the ribs. It's such a compelling story, because Rollins has been firing on all cylinders for months now, and he has to break at some point. But boy, he sure did not in this match. Drew McIntyre was ejected from ringside for interference. It made us feel as though Rollins might actually win this. They had a commercial break before hitting the bread and butter of most of Rollins' recent moves and matches. Series of traded roll-ups, counters to signature moves, a leap or two from the top rope. Rollins kicks out of a zigzag before countering Ziggler on the top rope for a signature superplex Falcon Arrow combination. As he went for the pinfall, however, McIntyre appeared once again to pull the referee out and ruin the contest. Now, San Diego lost their minds, but not in the same way as they lost their minds when Bayley finally beat the crap out of Sasha Banks. This pisses me off. Like, I don't even know anymore, man. The Authors of Pain finally made their return to Monday Night Raw. Who did they face off against? Well, they faced off against the good old Gibson brothers. If you haven't heard of them, that's okay. Neither have I. Finn is quite funny here, calling Constable Corbin a TGI Fridays waiter and saying, check please. In only the fifth stupidest decision of Angle's night, Balor teamed with Corbin against Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens. Now that match was actually decent. But, so Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens got the win. And that happened. Alexa Bliss hiding behind Mickie James, yada, yada, yada. Jinder was there. He had a match. Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Monday Night Raw. This was one of the better Monday Night Raws as of late. There really wasn't that much to say. It was a standard episode. Kicking things off on Tuesday's SmackDown Live was The Miz, and he welcomed us to the most must-see television talk show in history, Miz TV, and he introduced us to the Bludgeon Brothers. Now, most of what was going on here was talking to the Bludgeon Brothers about Daniel Bryan. Now, they called Daniel Bryan a glory hound in a plot twist. The Bludgeons took him out, and The Miz eliminates him. He says they deserve Mizzies, and suggests they were trying to be the new Miztourage before offering them gigs on his new film, Rough Rough Ref. They swat the mic out of his hand, they being the Bludgeon Brothers, and here comes Daniel Bryan. Luke tells Bryan he's never going to learn, but he's going to tonight. Back from commercial, we're informed that Daniel Bryan and Luke Harper will in fact be wrestling later on in the show. On to the first real match on the card here. Rusev faced off against Xavier Woods. Good match. Rusev won by submission with the accolade. Of course, he can't lose to Xavier Woods here, as he's going to be challenging AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at Extreme Rules. Now we've got Jeff Hardy coming in, and we learn that he's going to have a United States Open challenge for this. But after commercial, Lana and Naomi are backstage arguing about their dance contest from a few weeks back when the cast of Glow rolls up. Naomi welcomes them and Alison Brie takes point, saying they're all huge fans that feel the glow. Naomi puts Alison's character over, and Brie does a bit of Zoya and trying to flatter Lana, who suddenly remembers her accent. They ask why they're arguing when they better work together, and Lana misunderstands what tripping means in context. Back to Jeff Hardy now in his open challenge. Sanity, answer the call. Now, if you listen back to past episodes of Wrestling with Ideas, you'll know that I am a huge Sanity fan. WWE has been missing a stable like this since the Ministry of Darkness disbanded back in the Attitude Era. So now we've got Jeff Hardy versus Eric Young for the WWE United States Championship. Towards the end, there was a kick to the midsection twist of fate, countered into a neck breaker, and both men are down. Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf point across the arena, and here come the Usos. We've got a brawl on the floor, and Eric Young then gets into it, where he wins the match by disqualification. Hardy joins the brawl now, and we've got all-out chaos. The babyfaces manage to run Sanity off, and they stand tall as we go to break. Back from commercial, we've got an unannounced 6-man tag team match. Definitely not stereotypical for WWE in 2018. We've got Jeff Hardy and the Usos facing off against Sanity. The match happened, was okay, yada, yada, yada. Jeff Hardy and the Usos win by pinfall with the Swanton Bomb from Hardy onto Alexander Wolf. Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville up next. Becky Lynch wins by submission with the Disarm Her. After this, we got some hype for Lio Rush's debut on 205 Live, which I will be talking about later. But first, we got to talk about Daniel Bryan versus Luke Harper. Now, there wasn't that much that happened in the match. It was a good match. Daniel Bryan won by disqualification as Daniel Bryan had the yes lock on Luke Harper, but then Eric Rowan came in to break it up. The Bludgeon Brothers boot Bryan into the corner. Harper slaps Rowan, assisted whip into an elbow, and Eric freight trains Daniel in the middle of the ring, drawing him back up. Luke gets up on the second. Then Kane is back. He made the save. He knocks Harper down with a boot. Double goozle. Cut off with kicks. But Bryan's recovered. Double missile drop kick. Basaku knee takes Rowan out. Kane hits a choke slam on Harper. Bryan rises to his feet and stares at Kane as the crowd chants Team Hell No and hug it out. Kane advances on him in the corner and opens his arms wide, but Daniel doesn't want the hug. He goes to leave before reconsidering. Team Hell No hug it out once again. They do the yes fingers together and Paige comes out. She's not letting the moment slip through her fingers, and she books the Bludgeon Brothers versus Team Hell No at Extreme Rules. Now this is going to be a very exciting Extreme Rules card, even though we only know like 2 or 3 different matches. I am definitely excited for this. But we do have to take a quick commercial break here. When we come back, we're going to be talking the latest in the NXT UK news. You're listening to Wrestling with Ideas right here on CKDJ 107.9, Ottawa's new music.
Hey everyone, this is CCO Pierre Colwell, and you're listening to Wrestling with Ideas at TCO.
We're not the Mounties. We're handsome, we're brave, we're strong. We're not the Mounties, 'cause we enforce the law. You can try to run, but you can never hide. Unlike the Mounties, we always get our man. We're not the Mounties. We're handsome, we're brave.
Welcome back inside the CKDJ studios, right here for Wrestling with Ideas on CKDJ 107.9, Ottawa's new music. As always, I am the music man, Colin Scully. Now, we've got some interesting stuff to talk about coming out of the NXT UK, as a couple nights ago, the NXT UK Championship Tournament just finished off. So let's go through each match of night 2 of the card. So the first match on the card that night was the Undisputed Era, consisted of Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. Facing off against Mustache Mountain, consisted of Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. For the NXT Tag Championships, my bad. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, of course, received the kind of good reception that you'd think of if they were in England, and the Undisputed Era received the equal amount of heat. This match had amazing physicality that you could hope for from 4 outstanding competitors. Seven may have been the biggest one in the show, in the ring, but he kept pace with the smaller partner and opponents from start to finish. Bate was especially exciting once he got on his roll. His wrestling IQ is so much higher than it should be for a man of his age. Keep in mind, this guy's only 19 or 20 years old, which hopefully should get to a new career, should help him with his career. Now, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven did pick up the belts. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. They did win the belts. Is it just me, or does Kyle O'Reilly look a little like Seamus Finnegan from the Harry Potter films, but all grown up? All right. Next up, we've got Killer Kelly versus Charlie Morgan. Killer Kelly has a similar energy to most MMA fighters when she walks into the ring. She doesn't play to the crowd or dance around. She is all focus. Now, Kelly's mother apparently competed in the Miss Universe pageant as Miss Portugal in the same building as this show. She was never shown to be in attendance, but she has to be proud of her daughter for reaching this stage in her career. Morgan showed some great flexibility by fighting out of a Dragon Sleeper surfboard combo, and Morgan did end up pulling off the win. Up next, we've got Mark Andrews versus Travis Banks versus Flash Morgan Webster versus Noam Dar. Now, Christian was actually in attendance for this. He was given a great reception by the crowd when he was acknowledged at ringside. Does Webster drive a motorcycle or a scooter? If not, why does he carry a helmet to the ring? Now, Johnny Saint was also in attendance for this, and his music sounds like it was sampled from the Rolling Stones. Now, Dar has been working out during his time off. He does look quite shredded. Now, Webster doesn't lock his ankles when he hits a Hurricane Rana, which makes it less look realistic. Dar was able to pick up the win and escape before Mark and Joe Coffey rushed the ring to attack Banks. The Coffey brothers decimated him, while Dar watched from the stage, refusing to help him. Up next, we have Adam Cole versus Wolfgang for the NXT North American Championship. Now, despite being the bad guy in this match, Cole was over with the UK crowd as anyone we have seen during this event, but Wolfgang did have his fair share of fans in the arena. Now, Wolfgang does work a stiff style as well, so Cole was forced to adjust his usual game plan slightly. The leader of the Undisputed Era is good at working with a variety of opponents, so this was no challenge. Pace was a bit slow. That's not always bad when they're using the time between moves to sell the severity of the last maneuver effectively. Wolfgang was a worthy challenger, but Cole was still able to put him away with his finisher for the victory. Up next, we got a tag team match between Velveteen Dream and EC3 going up against Aleister Black and Ricochet. Now, this was definitely an exciting match. Dream ended up abandoning his partner towards the end of the match, which may have started a feud between them since it led to Black hitting EC3 with his finisher for the win. Dream has taken all the best parts of Prince, Rick Rude, and Goldust to create a unique and interesting character. His star continues to rise with every single match. WWE seems happy to ignore EC3's past as Derek Bateman as well. Maybe Vince McMahon forgot what he used to work for the company. Maybe Vince McMahon forgot EC3 used to work for the company as Derek Bateman like he did with Luke Gallows when he was Festus. One of the most impressive things in this match was Dream's ability to keep his headband on the entire time as well. Moving on to the second event of the card, the second last event of the card here, we had Shayna Baszler facing off against Toni Storm for the NXT Women's Championship. Now, watching the Queen of Spades act like a villain is always fun, especially when her opponent gets to make a comeback like when Storm sent her flying with a German suplex. The New Zealander put up a valiant effort, but Baszler was able to retain her title by countout in a great match. The champ poured salt in the wound by coming back to the ring and choking out Storm after the bell. Now, the WWE announcers acknowledged a non-WWE match between these two in order to establish a history of Baszler seeking redemption for a past loss. Baszler's nose was bleeding a few minutes into the match, but she never let it affect her performance. The scream that Storm let out when Baszler stomped on her ankle was almost too convincing. Toni Storm is one of the greatest women's sellers that happen to be not necessarily just on the UK scene, but on the women's wrestling scene right now. Now on to the main event of the evening. We've got UK champion Pete Dunne facing off against winner of the 2018 WWE UK tournament. We've got Pete Dunne versus Zach Gibson. Now this one was especially interesting as the entire reason for this entire event was to find a new contender for Dunne's UK championship. Crowd was hyped as both competitors made their way to the ring for the main event. The two British brawlers wasted no time getting physical instead of sizing each other up with some basic wrestling. They took the action in and out of the ring several times as they beat each other senseless. Gibson put a heavy focus on Dunne's arm, while the champion focused on punishing every part of his body. They took each other to the limit to make sure the crowd got more than its money's worth, as Gibson tried to get Dunne to tap out, but the champion prevailed to retain his title in a classic encounter. Triple H Johnny Saint and the rest of the UK division came out to congratulate Pete Dunne on his big victory and close the show with an NXT chant. In some ways, this event did exceed the first UK Championship tournament. We saw a greater variety of wrestlers and some real progress with the formation of NXT UK. It's a little strange, though, I find, to see Pete Dunne portraying the babyface. He's so good at being a villain. Dunne's headbutt is also one of the most brutal in the business today. Now, knowing he only had to compete in one match on night 2 allowed Gibson to show off more athleticism than he did Monday when he was pacing himself. Dunne is one of the few people you can't easily classify. He can brawl, he can fly through the air, he can make an opponent tap out or wrestle them on the mat. Few superstars are as versatile as Pete Dunne really is. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and after we come back, we are going to debut Doctor's Orders. Now, Doctor's Orders is going to be hosted by Dr. Bob, your commentator of choice, and every week for the next little while, he's going to be doing a match review, and he's going to be telling you guys to go watch it. So tune in to hear that as well. We did a little bit of alternate commentary on some matches now that I'm recently subscribed to the WWE Network, so you can tune in to hear that as well. So that'll be the last segment of the show before we wrap things up. You're listening to CKDJ 1079 for Wrestling with Ideas right here on CKDJ 1079 Ottawa's New Music. Welcome back inside the CKDJ studios right here for Wrestling with Ideas on CKDJ 1079, Ottawa's New Music. I am the music man, Colin Scully, and this is the debut segment of Doctor's Orders with your commentator of choice, Dr. Bob. Now, Dr. Bob, this segment is going to be sort of like a match review thing. But why don't you talk more about what you wanted to do?
In a kooky little zany way, I think match reviews just by themselves are a little boring in terms of there's a suplex, then a knee drop, then he goes. But I'd like to bring in kind of how my brain works when I watch wrestling too, whether it be on YouTube, streaming sites of whatever kind. It's that I oftentimes won't go through an entire show. I don't have the patience to watch 3 hours in one row, but I like to pick up matches, and the zanier the better sometimes, not necessarily comedy. I'll go through this match, throw up a lot of tidbits for fans, and the wrestling trivia is kind of the name of the game here. A lot of little things that people might be aware of, people might not be aware of, and hopefully I get to pop a bunch of you here and just with all the little bits. And it'll be a great opportunity for you to go back, fans, to watch these matches. A lot of them, the majority of them will be on something like a Daily Motion or YouTube. If there are some matches that you can't find, they're exclusive to some, I'll let you know. But otherwise, a lot of these will be able to search. I wanted this to be accessible to everyone. It's going to be a great time. Either way.
Before we get this first one started, I'm going to make a page on the newly created, nothing's up there yet, but the newly created WrestlingWithIdeas.com. There's going to be a list of Doctor's Orders.
Sure.
It's going to be up there. But let's get things underway with your first match that you have.
Yeah. So the first match is actually from World Championship Wrestling, WCW, that we all know and love. Some people a little more, some people a little less.
Is this the Vince Russo era?
Potentially,
WCW?
yeah. Actually, I believe it was. This is in 99, early 99.
So this probably just when he was just starting.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's around there because Goldberg was in here. And so this comes March 22nd, 1999, comes in a few weeks after the first loss of Goldberg. So he was 173-0. Then he lost Starrcade 98 in December. The end of December 98 to Kevin Nash in the very infamous stun gun match.
Yeah.
Scott Hall obviously came on in, used a stun gun, finished off Goldberg. A lot of people said it was one of the biggest mistakes WCW ever made. I'm not counting David Arquette because he's the man. But Goldberg came in, lost that one. So, where was he going from now? People were still really behind him. So fan adulation for him was still pretty high, not maybe at his highest. But at this point, what's interesting, now that the luster of Goldberg has kind of worn off in terms of his win streak, now it was kind of fair game. People could beat him. It could happen again. And, of course, he lost a few more times after that. The Kevin Nash one was the big one, but he lost to other opponents afterwards. So this match itself also notorious, I guess, for Hack's short run. Hack, of course, was the Sandman from ECW, who's done other gimmicks as well. But his name was Hack, is actually the nickname everybody gave him in wrestling when he wasn't in the Sandman character. So
this match is the Goldberg versus
Sandman, aka Goldberg versus Hack. Hack in WCW. Hack came in, was put into the WCW hardcore division almost right away. Had a lot of matches with, I guess, guys like Raven, guys with Bam Bam Bigelow. Fact too, Bigelow hated the hardcore division in WCW.
Doesn't surprise me.
He hated working it. Other guys liked it a little more. But yeah, it was really interesting. They had done better hardcore divisions than I believe WWE ever did. Of course, it was kind of okay, I'm going to keep this clean, but it was kind of a version of ECW's. Of course, they stole a few ideas here and there, depending on who you ask. Anyways, Goldberg versus Hack, kind of unofficially a no DQ match as anything Hack does. This was March 22nd, 1999, and Hack gets a lot of offense right away, which before the streak ended, it was Goldberg, spear, jackhammer. Right. So he stops Goldberg off right away, starts attacking him, gets him to the outside. It is in the beautiful Club La Vela, Panama City Beach, Florida, which for fans out there can't quite picture it, is the Nitro and kind of location where there was a pool on the outside. So you had the ring, you had the guardrail, you had fans outside, and there was kind of a pool almost.
Is this the episode? Is this where last?
No, it's not the last one.
No. But was this the episode where Vince found out that Shane
possibly? If it wasn't that exact location, it looked similar. It looked similar. It might even be. We'll have to look it up afterwards. Right. But it's got that spring break type feeling, and it was so cool. WCW, what they did, interestingly enough, ran shows at different places. So the Mall of America
was
show,
the first episode of Nitro.
Yeah, and then they had things like this near a pool. I don't think WWE ever replicated that for, I guess, cost reasons and everything. But yeah, there was that. Chastity comes out. Chastity, of course, she was with Raven. She was with Hack. And the weapons come in too. There's a Singapore cane. The interesting story about that is that at its beginning, I don't know if you know how the Singapore cane started in wrestling.
Not too sure. No.
So there was the kendo stick, which essentially is saying the Singapore cane, as they call it, not actually a Singapore cane. If you look at it, it's more of a kendo stick or a facsimile of it. Singapore canes, really, if you look at it online, are just kind of a rod, whatever it may be, wood and such, but just one long stick that's going to hurt like heck. The kendo stick really is used more in martial arts as a practice tool, almost like think something akin to a fencing. So they used it because in ECW, the Singapore caning incident in Singapore, where an American 18 years old was caught, sentenced, and was sentenced to Singaporean cane lashes. This got big in the States as news, a cross-cultural thing. Can we let an American kid be caned in Singapore? So Paul Heyman's at that point, was always kind of soaking up everything around him in the world and said, hey, I'm going to take the kendo stick, which is already in part of wrestling, called the Singaporean cane because of this huge international incident. Oh. And then, so then Sandman used it against Tommy Dreamer. Arguably, that's what got Dreamer over because he was a mid-card to a lower-card guy at that point. He used it, got him over. So he brought that into the matchup. Goldberg was dominated for about 30 seconds a minute. Of course, you're not going to get too much on Goldberg. No. Chastity never really got in the way of that. Sandman, Hack at this point in this kind of weird WCW, ECW dream match, I'd say. Yeah. Got a bit of offense. He does that weird punch thing that only Sandman does where it looks like he hurts his hand every punch and shakes it off, so I don't quite know why he ever did punches. And so Hack takes the spear after trying to punch him a few times, takes the jackhammer in the beautiful Club La Vela. It's this weird thing where I guess like this weird dream match that you never thought was going to happen. Even hearing it online, you're like, wow, Sandman and Goldberg. Of course, being a WCW, finishes pretty soon, but it lasted a lot longer than most of Goldberg's pre-streak ending matches finished. I think it's interesting to see all the little bits, all those little news snippets hacked didn't last too long in WCW after that, and Goldberg was kind of weird because he was trying to rebuild himself after this title loss. So all those interesting things, go check it out on YouTube on March 22nd of 1999.
Right. First ever segment, Doctor's Orders.
Thank you. Doctor's Order it.
Yeah.
Any of your listeners that want to learn more about what I am up to, because rest assured, I may have retired from mixed martial arts. I did come out for the one match I also had with Ken Shamrock, but I have not retired in life, and I'm still staying very proactive in a number of different things. But simply to bore you with details, just go to my website at dansevern.com, because I am the beast. You are listening to Wrestling with Ideas. You better listen, otherwise I know where you live.
Welcome back inside the CKDJ studios here for a special bonus audio clip of Wrestling with Ideas. I am the music man, Colin Scully. And in studio with me today, we've got some special guests here. We've got your commentator of choice, Dr. Bob.
The Mulder to your Scully.
Yeah, the X-Files jokes have been made for 10 years,
Have they?
man.
I barely ever watched X-Files. So
Neither,
I thought that was fresh.
I've never watched an episode.
Yeah, that's because you're 12. That's why. It was probably on while you're still in the womb, so, you know.
Yeah, that's also fair. And then also, we've got Gus Burgess.
Hello, everybody.
C4 ring crew, all
C4 ring crew.
Fan for
Fan for
39 years.
35 years, Bobby. I'm not that
49 years.
old. 49 years,
He's
35
been
years.
a fan longer than a lot of people have been alive, so he's got that experience on him. So what are we watching today, Colin?
So when you came into the studio today, you had suggested this match, and as of almost yesterday, into the online part of the WWE Network, I was able to find this, and I was surprised that I was able to find this. We're going to be watching a match from WWE's Madison Square Garden show on the 26th of November, 1984. This match is between the Tonga Kid and Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Famous from their movie Body Slams here.
Yeah.
And as Vince says, the garden is the garden. So this match is molten heat from the fans. I think just as a quick setup right now, the build-up to this is with the famous Superfly versus Piper feud that's going right after the coconut smash on Piper's Pit. And as they're building up to it, you can see he does come out with him, but Tonga Kid and Piper is the match before any of the Snuka stuff goes on.
Right. Now, Gus, do you remember the coconut smash?
Are you asking me because I'm less old?
No, I'm just asking because
I think everybody remembers. I think
Yeah.
everybody remembers the infamous coconut smash.
Yeah. All right, let's check this out. So you can see Cowboy Bob Orton in the ring alongside Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Suspicious without his cast. I barely recognized him.
Yeah.
Longest broken arm in history, but it hasn't happened yet by this point.
Great.
Your favorite, the Fink, is in there too, Colin?
Yeah, man.
Look at these two. The fans are already erupting, and Tonga Kid's ready to get on. You know what? It was funny, too, in his WWE run, he wasn't ever a big name, but his association with Snuka really pushed him to that kind of almost near upper echelon, especially, Piper can take anybody and just make him a star. Look at already, as I was saying, the indignation on Piper's face, already kind of pulling off that he's disgusted, angry, all these things before even a single lockup has taken place, and the fans are literally jumping out of their seats.
Yeah.
They're standing, they're jumping, and also, Colin, this isn't even the main event of the show.
Right. This is barely mid card. Like, this is what the first match. First match was SD Jones, Charlie Fulton. Second match was Louis Rivera versus Moondog Spot. Third match was Bobby Heenan versus Salvatore Bellomo. Bobby Heenan in a wrestling match. Okay, I'm going to have to go back. Mr. Fuji versus CFL star Angelo Mosca. And then just before this, we had Swede Hansen versus Cowboy Bob Orton. Now here we go.
A good card there so far for Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Bobby Heenan in a wrestling match is something.
Have you not seen some of those?
I've not seen any of those. So
you are in for a treat. I mean, Sal Bellomo, obviously with newer ECW fans might be a little familiar with him, but he was sort of jobber extraordinaire over at WWE. Look at these fans pumping. You can feel the vibe. You can pretend you're almost there.
Yeah.
Fans on their feet and clearly on the side.
How old were you there, Gus?
I was
30, 40?
30 years old. That's right,
30,
Bobby.
Okay.
30 years old in 1984. Okay.
I was 2 years old at this point.
Now look at how long Piper.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Look at how long Piper just takes to take off his coat.
He's almost looking like I don't know if you saw 205 Live last night, but Leo Rush made his in-ring debut.
How long
and
did-
this guy, he took a good 2 minutes. Like he was taking all of his jewelry because he had a bunch of jewelry on, like bracelets and watches and shit. And he took like a good minute into the match. This isn't going on the radio. It can be uncensored.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
I was like, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear. It's fine.
Oh,
like it's not. It's,
fiddlesticks.
yeah.
Look at him, trying to intimidate him with the bell too, insinuating that he's going to hit him with it, perhaps.
Yeah.
Bob Orton, his bodyguard, who was a legit tough guy, I've heard, just standing in front of them, and Snuka obviously is not going to get involved.
And the kilt comes off.
Boy, is he fired up. Yes.
Look at these guys; they're all ready to go. It would have been a great tag team match too. I don't know if they ever mixed.
That
That would have been a great tag team match.
Tonga Kid. Where does he looks? Where would I have seen him before? Tonga Kid. Or
He wrestled throughout WWE.
he did.
He
Okay.
had a career. He wasn't just.
Did he go by any other names or?
I'll have to Wikipedia this later.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Because I was watching.
I'm pretty sure he had tagged somewhere with I want to say Samoan SWAT team. I might be off
Right.
there. But
the first Samoan SWAT team.
definitely was never on Snuka's level.
Right.
But like I said again, he was a big time actor for that one movie with Piper. So they actually were together in that as a team. I
Here
don't
we
know
go.
the time frame if it happened
Match
right
getting
after this.
underway. Piper with the slap to the face.
Piper opens with 2 slaps.
Those are hard enough because you can see his face shake.
Oh, there you go.
Piper is shaking.
Yeah,
Look
but
at
Piper.
Just so much with so little, Colin and Gus. And the headbutts, of course, because he's from the islands.
And the fans already coming to their feet.
Yeah. Listen to that sound. Because really, what have they done so far? Not too much.
No, the match has only been going on for about like a minute and a
not
half
even
or
a
so.
Tonga Kid firing up right off the bell.
They really could just trade headbutts and punches for the entire duration of the match and be completely fine.
Yeah. All right, that looks like it might have been a DDT that Tonga
too
Kid
early,
was trying
Colin.
to pull.
Too early in this.
Too early. All right.
Yeah, they got to save big matches for later. But it was funny because Orton being on the outside and Randy Orton doing that drape over.
The drape over DDP. Yeah.
Look at him. See, that's perfect.
Yeah.
He's going fast, and he gives time for the fans to just kind of soak it in, watch, and go, what is he going to do next? And I bet you very soon Piper's going to hit him with a cheap shot because Tonga Kid's too hot right now.
All right.
Nut shot
shoulder
or
block from
fingers to the
Tonga
eye?
Kid.
Yeah. Up and over.
Up and over again.
Piper getting a lot
Shot
of
to
height
the
on that one.
chest.
See,
Piper
Tonga
getting the
Kid
upper hand and stalking
hits
around
him
his prey.
slow
to the
and then
ground.
Stalks and watches, looks at the crowd because he wants.
Takes a moment to gloat.
Yes, and he's probably looking right at Snuka too, and of course,
Yep.
Yeah.
Snuka.
With the devil horns, too.
Tonga Kid.
No, that's the I love you from
Tonga Kid chop to the chest.
yeah.
Piper goes down.
Yeah, that's why you're doing it for the trade.
Trading blows to the head there.
Because they both got a lot of ovation there, and so of course and Piper's got to stop and slow the match down.
Yeah.
Let everyone absorb it. Don't look right at your opponent. Look back at the crowd, but still sell.
See, and this is one of the things, because over the past, couple hours almost, I guess I could say, I've been watching just old school wrestling, except for last night's episode of 205 Live. And this is the one thing that I've been beginning to appreciate a whole hell of a lot more about the old school wrestling, is it's got the perfect balance of in-ring work and showmanship, versus now, 2018's WWE is 90 showmanship, 10 in-ring work. Almost.
There's a double-edged sword to that, Colin. I'd say that once you get fans used to something, it's really hard to go back. So to say that they're not working the same way is to a certain point you can't. You've conditioned your crowd to a certain extent. And look at that, he throws him out near Snuka so that Snuka and him can have that kind of interaction, get fans to give him a little more
Those
sympathy.
ropes. Those ropes.
Yeah, you're not
really,
doing 450s off of that.
No. All right.
Right near the camera.
You see him biting. It looks like he was biting the forehead.
And he's looking at Snuka.
And
He's
spitting
at
in
him
his
too.
face, too. Yep.
I'm sure he really wants to hit him with another coconut at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Throat thrust. He's just the entire
Seething
match
with
through. He's
anger.
disgusting. Cocky pin, of course. And what I like about that too is that Piper is looking at this. You're like, okay, Piper, especially where he is on the card. You're thinking, okay, there's no way he's going to lose to Tonga. So let's get as much hatred for
Knee
him
to
as we
the
possibly can.
face. Smiling and still looking at Snuka. He's telling Snuka that it's about to be done. 1, 2, kick out by Tonga Kid.
What's great about this too is that if you read any sort of books or hear any sort of interviews, Piper and Snuka were such good friends.
Right.
To see that, look at that and see that they absolutely going for the sleeper hold as finisher, absolutely hate each other in this ring. You believe it to the very fiber of your core here. And fiber of your being, and then to kind of see that, oh, these friends, like they can totally convince you. And this
No,
was
it all kayfabe that they hated each other, or did they legitimately hate each other at this point in time?
they were always good friends.
They were always good friends. Yeah, I think that helps a lot too when you're really good friends. You know how to work each other.
Sometimes
you know
if you
how to
hate
piss
each other too, that helps too.
Yeah, I know. But like if you know each other really well, that helps. Like if you're good friends, you know exactly what's going to piss them off the most. So even if it's all kayfabe,
OC in any regular match, Tonga Kid, especially where he is on the card, would be finished. But because this is building up to Snuka in the big match, he can't lose too easily.
now does this build up to their WrestleMania match at
Yes.
WrestleMania?
Yes, I believe
so. 1, I think it was.
No,
it must have been.
not in 84.
84? No, because WrestleMania.
This one's in 84.
This one's in 1984.
Yeah, so
This one was
And
the
here
first
we had
WrestleMania.
the classic 3-time arm drop with Tonga Kid holding his arm up at 3.
What's that? The butt thrust too?
The butt thrust.
Yeah, well,
Foreshadowing Rikishi, I think.
well, they are part of. He is cousins, I believe, of Rikishi too.
The
so,
Fatu, yeah.
yeah,
The Fatu family.
yeah, they probably even tagged too. So
When your head is swimming like
You know, I can't help
you can still make a
but
maneuver.
notice, looking back on
That's
this,
a lot for-
I used the word magic to describe Hulk Hogan's wrestling, but I have to say,
have you heard this crowd the entire time? too?
looking back on
Speaking
Dearly,
about Hogan, he's featuring up here.
it's featuring up, but looking back at Dear Roddy,
Piper
I have
looks,
to use the word
Piper looks
magic.
surprised that he's been able to do this. Piper, I can talk sometimes. Piper looks like he's surprised that Tonga's pulling off everything right now.
Well, he's got to, because I mean, he was
headbutt.
He's
Massive
got to be
headbutt.
pretending, or he's got to be thinking that Tonga Kid's not going to have a chance in there with him.
Right.
So to see him even kind of pull something
Irish
out of
whip
this.
to the corner.
Crossbody dumps him outside.
Dumps him outside.
Wonderful. In a lot of matches, especially in this era in the WWF, that would have been a count out. So somebody takes that hard to spill, match over.
and Roddy buys himself a minute before going after.
Bob Orton here. The DQ, a lot again, like I said, a lot of matches at this era probably going to end in DQ. But this gives the interaction, no clean win.
Yeah.
helping
Fun
people
fact.
forward.
Tito with the save.
Sam Fatu, also known as the Tonga Kid, is the twin brother of Salofa Fatu Jr., also known as Head Shrinker Fatu / Rikishi.
That's it. Oh,
He's the twin brother. He's
cousins
twin
or
brother.
brothers. That's why they tag together, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Look at them.
What the hell?
Wow,
All right, so
look at this crowd.
And now Tito
both of
in
these
the
guys,
ring.
there's the match is over at this point.
Yeah, the ref's calling it off. He's saying that, but the fans are loving every single second of it. See, it's very hard
If they didn't do a tag match with this, then they did something terribly wrong here. Because this,
Well, it was always supposed to be centered around Roddy and Superfly. So Tonga
Right.
Kid was an afterthought in this, unfortunately. Although I think, like I was saying, mid-card match in a Madison Square Garden matchup between two guys who aren't even in a feud. Really, it's the periphery of being around Snuka. And yet,
Right.
I love that. I want Piper shirt. I might
want
need to get
Piper.
that.
yeah,
And it's just that magical feeling, like you were saying, Gus. It's just, you don't see that anywhere, almost like in a car nowadays. It's just that hatred they had for each other, the beautiful angle that they had, and the build. Wonderful match.
It's always the small details, and Roddy Piper was a master at those facials.
yeah.